محسوبكم سعد رجل.
فاروق الشرع was he always had a problem with my father politically, even at the time of حافظ الاسد. But at the time of حافظ الاسد, الحليم was the boss, so we didn't have to worry much about Farouk. Politically and even personally, Farouk and my father didn't get along, I would say. And Farouk had this certain maybe jealousy or despised my father because of his relationship with الحليم. Although on the political aspect, my father, and plus I think because my father at the time of حافظ الاسد, الحليم خدام was the vice president and the minister of foreign affairs was فاروق الشرع, and الحريري, the prime minister of Lebanon, was doing the foreign affairs of Syria, where he was helping Hafez al-Assad in France, in America, in London, in Spain, in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, wherever he could, he would help. So I think that, made Farouk al-Shara very edgy and didn't like Rafiq al-Hariri. So I would say the relationship wasn't very good. So that was a part that I think Farouk al-Shara didn't like my father. Plus, I think Farouk al-Shara's understanding of international relations was limited. For instance, when 1559 resolution came out, he said a comment that was so absurd that this means nothing, or this is a piece of paper crap or something like this. And he blamed it on Rafiq Hariri, the 1559. And he blamed that Rafiq Hariri, he was building on the facts that Rafiq Hariri was close to the Americans, close to the French, close to the Saudis, and he was a Saudi man in Lebanon, and that represented this threat to Syria, and we shouldn't take it easy. And he took the negative, but he thought of Rafiq Hariri not as a friend of Syria, but as actually a threat to Syria. He was from that camp. I don't know why. You ask me why, I don't know why. Some people are like this. And it became more and more obvious dealing with Farouk al-Shara when my father used to go to Syria and meet, let's say, Bashar, and he would meet Farouk al-Shara. He would feel a lot of negative vibes from his meetings with Farouk al-Shara, and he didn't feel comfortable. Plus, after the assassination of my father, Farouk al-Shara, the way he reacted publicly, and tell you the truth, it was like nobody died in Lebanon. He wasn't, I believe that the relationship wasn't a good relationship. He was from the camp that, of Asif and Maher al-Assad, from the new thinking and the new regime in Syria. Whereas they thought that Rafiq Hariri, Walid Jumblat, or Nichawan are people who are anti-Syria. Moratinus wasn't Farouk al-Shara.
How do you know that?
Moratinus told
When he told?
Before and now. Now he was here. That's why I had to go and see.
What did he tell you exactly?
He told me that when he heard the news, I think the first time, it was more details. He told me that they were having lunch and people started whispering. And Farouk I was eating normally. And then they got news started coming that there was an assassination, and then they told him that Hariri was assassinated. Moratinos, it was very close to my father, so it was bouleversé. So I stopped eating and he went straight out, and there was supposed to be a press conference. And I think Farouk wanted to have the press conference, and Farouk was acting normal, as if nothing happened. Then Moratinos said, my friend was just assassinated, I have nothing to say, and left. But Farouk reacted like it was a mosquito that died.
So there were many around the table for lunch?
Yeah, obviously. I didn't ask how many.
But they were not only two persons.
No.
There were several.
I think they were even at a restaurant, maybe.
Okay.
Restaurant somewhere.
Did he describe how Farouk Shara received, where they were still at the table, received the information, received the info?
Moratinos was shocked, bouleversé, and logically Farouk Shara should be shocked and speechless, but he wasn't. He was, Moratinos didn't want to say that he wasn't shocked, but he said he was acting as if trying to control himself, and Moratinos couldn't control himself.
Farouk Shara tried to control himself. Yeah. Moratinos didn't.
Which should be weird, because logically Farouk would understand what this means, more assassinating Hariri, what it means. See, I think they killed him and they never thought the reaction would be like this. Neither in Lebanon and the people in Lebanon, nor internationally. Asif Shawkat, I don't think he met with my father. I don't know. But I know that Asif Shawkat was one person that didn't like my father at all. Okay. And that most of the problems that we were getting was from Asif Shawkat.
Yes.
And also that Asif Shawkat was a person that was a thuggish personality. And I know that not only from, what I heard from Lebanon, but also from people who dealt with him in the intelligence services. For instance, the Saudis would tell me that, Asif Shawkat, like Mohammed bin Nائب, that he's a tough guy, and they're wary about his dealings. One time I was sitting with ISI, which is the Pakistani intelligence service head, and that was after the assassination of my father. He told me that once he met Asif Shawkat, and that Asif Shawkat was bragging about how he used to torture me to him. And this ISI person, the head of the ISI, was somebody who was close to me because I was close to President Musharraf because of some political issue that we did between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. So, plus it was very well known that Asif was the guy was the strong man in Syria, that there was problems between Bashar and Asif at a certain point. Before my father was assassinated, we knew about this. For instance, like the minister Karam, he became minister because he was the doctor of Bushra, the Asad. They were capable of getting twins and triplets, I think. So he became minister in Lebanon of health.
In Syria?
No, here.
Here?
He was Lebanese.
Okay.
So he was a minister for 7 years or 6 years. Asif was all the news that we got from my father, from people close to us, was that Asif was somebody who despised الحريري for the reason that الحريري was a strong man in Lebanon, and this is something that there shouldn't be any strong man in Lebanon other than the Syrians. The government in Lebanon, 3 days of mourning, and maybe after a week he tried to open a session to discuss the electoral law for Lebanon. إنه خلاص it's finished, it's behind us. They were extremely what Rami Makhluf told me, like, didn't you see what happened to your father? What does that mean? All the actions, Sulaiman Franji is saying, Al-Aza morning is 4 days or 3 days or 1 week, it's finished, you'll go to your houses. But it was a chain reaction that started, and then they realized they had to deny and act as if something, and until now they don't say Shahid Rafiq Hariri in Syria. They say Marhum. They can't even pronounce the martyr. They're having a hard time, it's very difficult letters.
Since you said evidence, is it based on, you stated that Mr. Chirac or the Egyptians told you this, you believe it's based on evidence, no?
Chirac, I think, could be based on evidence. I cannot say it's based on evidence, but all the motive was there. And motive is somehow is evidence. But one thing, I don't understand the British, one day, my father was assassinated. The first reaction of the British just slammed it to the Syrians. Even before us, they had communications or something like this. Jackstraw. The Americans, maybe they have evidence. We have evidence. The telecommunication that we call the 6 lines. I don't know if, I'm sure you investigated it. You have a lot of tools in it. But Wissam, who's responsible of the information division in ISF, they have identified a person, Ghamdoush, and it stopped there. They couldn't go further. They didn't have capability in going further because the guy disappeared, went to Syria. That's the last thing they know.
The last question was about Asif Shaukat, and we elaborated on that. Now, what was the nature of the relationship between your late father and Mr. Muhammad Nasif? Muhammad Nasif. Okay.
Known as Abu Wa'il, I think.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I have no knowledge of Muhammad Abu Wa'il's relationship. Mm-hmm. The only thing I knew that on several occasions sitting with my father in 96, 97, I was personally sitting next to him when he picked up the phone and called one time Abdul Khadam and said, can you tell Abu Wa'il to get off my back? And then I asked, who's Abu Wa'il? Just on top. And my father said, there's somebody who keeps writing reports about me. And on another occasion, I was sitting with my father. He got a call, I don't know from who, but he said it would be Abu Wa'il who is writing these reports against me to President Hafez al-Assad. I think the relationship between him and my father, I think my father met him maybe a couple of times, but I don't think they had a good relationship. Ghazi Kanaan was an up and down relationship. Ghazi Kanaan was the man who decided what would happen, or things on the local politics in Lebanon, how would happen, and what are the things that should happen. And it would be in coordination with, let's say at the time, President Yasser Harawi, my father, Nabi Berri, and other ministers, and intelligence, and everything. His relationship with Ghazi Kanaan was a relationship where it had, in a way, he respected Ghazi Kanaan, but at the same time, he knew Ghazi Kanaan in 1998 betrayed him. Because he is the one who brought Emil Lahoud, he is the one who allowed all the attacks on my father to happen. But also at the same time, we knew, and my father knew, that Ghazi Kanaan couldn't do more to stop it, because it was coming from Damascus. It was coming from his bosses, which are Bashar al-Assad, Asif Shawkat, Maher al-Assad. But on the personal basis, they had he could deal with Ghazi Kanaan, and although Ghazi was a very tough, in a way, criminal person, but he could deal with him on trying to get things done for Lebanon. He was a very tough negotiator. He was a very tough, and he was moody also. He was known to be a moody person, Ghazi Kanaan. But I think, I saw Ghazi Kanaan several times with my father, and they had, when you meet somebody and you could feel if he liked him or not. Certainly. And I could see my father that he liked Ghazi, although Ghazi made him suffer a lot. But he was a person that he could work with. And from 98, 2001 maybe, when Ghazi, things were changing a lot in the way Syria was dealing with with my father. When Ghazi left, that was also gave him a big goodbye.
I was saying, as you know, that Security Council Resolution 1559 was adopted on the 2nd September 2004. Did you ever discuss with your father?
1559 is a resolution that was prepared by the French and the Americans a few months back to make sure that the Syrians do not vote or do not push the Lebanese to extend to Emil Lahoud. The French wanted to do that because they thought it would be a very bad thing for Lebanon to extend to Emil Lahoud. And anyway, the whole of Lebanon, most of the politicians, if you look at the media, Emil Lahoud has, in the polls, has gone so much down. And there was a national, fatigue of Emil Lahoud. So to make sure that he wouldn't be re-elected, they told the Syrians about this resolution, that it was prepared by the French and by the Americans.
Who they?
I think the French and the Americans, the ambassadors, I don't know who.
Okay.
Definitely not my father. My father knew about it. This whole thing that he didn't know about it, he knew about it.
He told you that he knew about it?
No, I know he knew about it. I was there.
You were where?
On the boat when it all happened, when he broke his shoulder.
Yes.
That was the time when there was negotiations to implement or to fire up the resolutions. My father was of the opinion, it was something that you could threaten with, but it had dangers. Because if it passes, that means definitely there was a threat that's going to be on my father, because anyway they didn't trust him. My father had got food poisoning, and he went into this he was sick. So I was taking the phone calls for him and telling him that these people are saying that, the French are saying that. I don't remember if Amal was there or not. Was she? I think Amal was there, or maybe not. I'll remember now. But I was taking phone calls from the advisor of President Chirac at the time. I think it was Montagny.
Mr. Montagny?
Oui,
okay.
Montagny. And the French were telling my father what was happening with Moratinos and Farouk al-Shara and al-Asad. At one point, there were advanced negotiations that they would give up Emil Lahoud. And that was after that Bashar had threatened my father. You have to remember. Threatened him, Agadir, Sardinia, and then there was this period of negotiation before voting for Lahoud. There was I think a week, something like that. So there were negotiations going in and out, and I remember very well at one point the Syrians said, fine, we will not extend it to Lahoud. Gurdu Montagny.
Okay.
And sometimes President Chirac. And then they went for the vote. They took the decision, and they said, Rafiq, I think he talked to my father at that point. He said, Rafiq, I made a deal with the Americans, and I have to go for it. And we have to go through this resolution.
Am I correct to say, sorry to interrupt, am I correct to understand from you now that Mr. Chirac was trying to convince your father to go with the resolution, notwithstanding what will happen?
He was informing, that's it, khalas, we're going to go for it. It's not anymore a threat, we're going to go for the resolution.
Your dad was kind of, it's better to find a solution rather than going for it.
And anyway, he wasn't in the kind of health, I told you his blood pressure was, sometimes I would wait to wake him up and tell him. At night it was issued. 9 votes. My father, a few days later, went to Lebanon, and they made the extension.
If you don't mind, am I correct my understanding is correct when I say that your father considered what it became later, today, 1559, as a threat?
Yes. They used it.
So he didn't like it? Is it right to say that he didn't like it?
I wouldn't say he didn't like it. No, he liked it.
He liked it?
Yeah, I liked it. He liked it.
He liked it?
Yes.
Okay.
It was there.
What was exactly his opinion about it?
He said we should respect all UN resolutions.
This is more on the political side.
No, but this is something that he couldn't say at the time. And if he said it, it would mean a threat to him.
Was your late father ever involved in the drafting of 1515?
Maybe. Yes, he was.
He was. When?
I don't know. I'll tell you exactly.
You cannot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Just about. But he didn't. Yani, for him, بس يعني this you can't use.
This is. Please.
We'll use this politically left, right, and center. But do we have to record this?
Are you aware of any reporting to Syria pertaining to your late father's role in 1559, either prior to its adoption or after?
After the adoption, yes, there was a lot of not only reports but also in the media. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of articles written by people who were very close to Jamil al-Sayyid and the Syrians, that that Rafiq Hariri was involved. There was a famous report by Nasr Andil, I think, written that Rafiq Hariri was with Marwan Ahmadi and Hassan Salami or something like this. That he sent to, I think, Rustam Ghazali or Asif Shawki, I don't know to whom. But you didn't have to have reports, because all the media that the Syrians controlled wrote that Rafiq Hariri, cooked up 1559, and he was responsible for 1559.
Yeah.
And de facto, because the relationship between Rafiq Hariri and Jacques Chirac was so strong, people, they linked that they assumed that Rafiq Hariri was responsible for 1559.
Yeah.
Publicly, my father was always saying that he had nothing to do with 1559.
Including to all his close friends?
All of them.
All of them, without exception?
All of them.
Alliance?
Also, I think.
Why did he resign from the post as Lebanese?
First of all, after the extension of Emil Lahoud, and then the resolution came out, and he had a meeting, I think, with Bashar al-Assad. And at the time, Bashar al-Assad told him that, Rafiq, you are a loyal man to us, and you can go ahead and form any government that you would like, and all of that. When he came back to Lebanon, he had many doubts in the words that Bashar said. So he started forming a government, a new government. But every time he would, finish, let's say, wanting to form a government, they would disagree with him on certain names, and it would be through Rustam Ghazali. Then he tried again and again and again. But he didn't want to be the one who, he wanted to appear that he did everything to please them. So he did the first government, they refused; another government, they refused; a third government, they refused. And all of a sudden then, I think after a while, they took the decision they didn't want my father anymore, so Nabi Berri informed him to resign.
Nabi Berri told him to resign?
Yeah.
And to whom did he resign?
To the president. Actually, it was, I think, there were famous words written by my father.
Please.
أستودع الله هذا البلد الحبيب.
Rustam Ghazali. Or
Asif Shawki and Bashar al-Assad.
Then we'll tackle the period between the activities of your late father between October 2004 and February 2005. What was exactly, if you don't mind the role of your late father in the opposition following his resignation? After October, after his resignation, bang, what was his role in the opposition?
He had secret meetings with people from the opposition like السعيد and Samir الخارجية. Khuri was involved in relaying messages to the patriarch about the electoral law, and he was starting to strengthen his relationship with Ornit Chahwan and getting closer to the patriarch. And he had Basil Fleihan also played a role in that. And Ghattas and Basil Fleihan played a role in those communications. They relayed messages from my father to the patriarch, from my father to, let's say, Samir and Said. I know sometimes they would meet on the seventh floor, where my father sleeps. Wali Jamlat, was, an ally, so he was pretty close to him. When it came to the political strategic thinking, let's say, it would be Ghattas and Basil Fleihan.
So these three that you mentioned, Ghazi, Wissam, Abu Tariq, it's more about tactical, more operational, not strategic, really, political decisions. Do you agree with that?
Yes. I would definitely, Ghazi would have known what would be the Syrian mood about, in 2004, in October or September, if they wanted my father, to form a government or not. He would know Rustam Ghazali, he would know what Rustam Ghazali was thinking and talking.
Yeah.
And Taha Mi'ati, I forgot, the Syrians with Bashar al-Assad, if he wanted to send a message straight to Bashar al-Assad, he would talk to Taha Mi'ati.
That's the brother of Mr. Najib Miqat.
Yes.
What kind of message Abu Tariq will convey? That's Abu Tariq, will he convey messages just only to Rustam Ghazali or to others?
Jama' maybe.
Jama' too.
I would assume Jama' too, because he had, let's say for the elections, there is a lot of stuff that has to do with, with the Syrians. So, he would talk to the Syrians. Actually, Ajid would know if Jamil Sayyid came to the house or not. You know that Jamil Sayyid, in the last period, did he come a lot to the house?
No, this was Syrian intelligence.
Rustam?
Yeah. Last day, Mr. died. Before that, 13th,
Rustam? 13?
14th, Mr. died. Sunday.
Rustam came to the house?
I was there, 5th.
I never heard that.
But Mr. always I looking Mr. is Hariri. I was behind him. Always. I was watching Mr. always.
So after checking apparently the 13th of the presence of Rustam Ghazali on the 13th evening of February evening in visiting your father is not correct.
Yeah, it's not correct.
Okay.
I will check more, but so far it's not correct.
What was in February 2005? What was his state of election campaign? Was he going to win?
Yes.
Everybody believes that he's going to win.
Yes, everybody believed he was going to win, and I think there was a meeting made in presidential palace with Jamil Sayyid, which I heard of. Jamil Sayyid and Emil Lahoud and I think Mu'azzar Mustafa Hamdan, where they came out with Ansliman Franji, where they came out with the conclusion that any which way the election would happen, Rafiq Hariri and the opposition would have a majority in the parliament.
How you came to be aware of this?
It's known, Ghazla Arida told me about this meeting, Marwan,
Okay.
Wissam, Ali Hamoud.
And that was around February? Before?
I don't know when the meeting took place. I think took place, I don't know, but I think it would have taken place either in January or February. And also the sons of Emil Lahoud were involved, and Maher al-Asad was involved in Medina Bank.